Hey everybody, welcome to Podcast Perspective Video Edition, where I curate insights to recent podcasts that I've listened to or watched, and all in an attempt to help you shape the best version of yourself. I really hope you enjoy them.
Wow! Come on. Groove it over. Say it, baby. I know you're wrong.
All right, everybody, let's jump right into the first Podcast Perspective Video Edition. This is an interview that Tom Bilyeu gives with Dr. Andrew Huberman from Stanford. He's a neuroscientist and has one of my favorite podcasts, Huberman Labs. In this section of the interview, they're talking about dopamine pathways, and pursuit versus pleasure. I found these super insightful, and I wanted you to listen to that clip, and then we're going to come back on the other side and talk about it a little bit.
The problem is not pleasures. The problem is that pleasure experienced without prior requirement for pursuit is terrible for us. It's terrible for us as individuals. It's terrible for us as groups. And I have great confidence in the human species to work this out. But we are finding now, and we are going to increasingly find, that those who will be successful, young or old, are going to be those people who can create their own internal buffers. They're going to be able to control their relationship to pleasures, because the proximity to pleasures and their availability is the problem. If you look at the increase in use of drugs of abuse or prescription medication, which at least at the first pass deliver pleasure, pain relief, the whole issue with the opioid crisis and dopaminergic drugs like Ritalin, Adderall, there sometimes is a clinical need, but tons of people are taking those recreationally now or to study. Huge dopamine increases are what those cause. That is a problem. That's a serious problem, because it creates a cycle where you need more of that specific thing. I would say addiction is a progressive narrowing of the things that bring you pleasure.
God, that's such a good definition.
And I don't like to comment too much on enlightenment, because I don't really know what that is as a neurobiologist, but a good life, we could say, is a progressive expansion of the things that bring you pleasure. And even better, is a good life is a progressive expansion of the things that bring you pleasure and includes pleasure through motivation and hard work.
What he's talking about here is two different things, and that is the pursuit of something versus the achieving or receiving of something. So when he talks about dopamine in this context, he's saying it's the feel-good pursuit element of dopamine that we really want to focus on. When we get too focused on the outcome or that which we are desiring, think about sitting in front of your screen looking at TikTok over and over and over. You're not necessarily putting in the effort, or as Dr. Huberman said at the very end, hard work. You're just getting these feeds and getting these little dopamine hits without any pursuit or effort. And I think what he's hinting at is this is a great concern for not only those of us that are in the workforce, but think about our kids constantly getting these dopamine hits, looking at the screens without having to put in the effort or the pursuit or the hard work. And like any addiction, the more you feed this dopamine effect without effort, the more that is what you're drawn towards. So what does that mean? It means you're more likely to sit there for longer periods of time to keep getting these hits of dopamine, in this example by viewing TikTok videos. So if you find in yourself some element where you're lacking motivation, think about how often you're looking at your screen, any screen, computer screen, TV, phones, iPads, and getting these constant hits of dopamine through just searching content. What Dr. Huberman is suggesting here, I believe, is that we need to dial back our dopamine access, these easy access points to dopamine, and think about things we actually want to be doing, and perhaps get rid of these screens for periods of time to allow things to reset. And that can be hard when we're used to getting these constant dopamine hits throughout the day. But what he also suggests in previous podcasts is getting outside in nature, focusing on breathing, scanning the horizon to help calm your central nervous system. These are all really good things to do to minimize the amount of dopamine we're getting. So those are some of the key insights that I took away from this, but I'm curious to hear what you think. Do you find yourself lacking some motivation? Do you find yourself sitting on a screen just scrolling through video after video after video, losing the desire to get out and do other things? These are all things that impact our desire to actually go after what we actually want. I would call this being stuck in autopilot, where we're just going through the motions. And in this example, if we're just looking at our screens constantly getting these dopamine hits, it's going to decrease our motivation to pursue things that we really want. So like I said, let me know what you think. I'd be curious to get some feedback on this inaugural episode of Podcast Perspectives Video Edition. I appreciate the time, and I do welcome your thoughts and feedback. Stay well, everybody.